So 7 years ago, I built this fence and put all this in. We cut all the wood to suit, and I must admit, it does look pretty good. However, once you get up close, you realise that actually out of the 40 fence posts that are in, a staggering 10 have rotted through, and you can see that there's really no strength. So today on Fix It with Fowler, I'm going to show you how to repair these using one of these concrete repair spurs that I've used over and over again on previous jobs, and I know they last a long time. So don't forget, stay tuned throughout the video because I've got some really good tips that other videos I've not covered. Unfortunately, most of my fence posts sit behind the hedge all the way around the garden. So I've picked the one that I can get to the easiest for the purpose of this film. So this particular post looks like it's rotted off at the bottom. So the first thing we're going to do is support the post before we start digging the concrete out. As a general rule, when you're installing these concrete repair spurs, you need to make sure you've got a minimum of 600 mil or 60 centimeters into the ground, and that will give you a real good support. However, on my fence, it's only small, it's just over 3 foot tall. So that allows me really to be a bit more selective of where I put the post. So I'm going to put the top of the post here, and that will give me 65 centimeters above the ground and about 75, 80 centimeters below the ground, which is more than adequate for this size fence. To prevent this rot from creeping up the post, we're going to cut the post off above ground level, and that way it will separate the two and we can pull out the old rotten post. Depending on the access to the bottom of your post, you may want to use something like a traditional handsaw or a reciprocating saw to cut that off. So when you come to break out the concrete around the existing post, there's all sorts of methods you can use for digging the soil out, for breaking the concrete. There's a picture of different types of spades you can use on the screen. You can use something like a SDS drill with a long chisel bit, but for me, I'm going to be using this. Now this is a heavy duty breaker that I bought about 7 years ago when I did the fence. So I'm going to crack on now, break out this concrete. This is by far the worst part of the job and will definitely take up most of the time. As you can see, I've used a combination of my big breaker, spades, and even my SDS drill with a long chisel bit. And unfortunately for me, there's quite a lot of concrete in this hole, so it does take me about an hour to achieve. However, I managed to achieve the depth that I wanted, a quick measure just to confirm, and then we're ready to move on to the next stage. Now I can try and remove this fence post, and as you can see, it's so rotten. Look at that. We've now got a bit of clear space and we can take off this slat, and that'll allow me to get a clamp through and clamp the new post onto this old wooden post. Place the post into the hole, ensure that it's in line with the existing post, clamp them together, and then finally check that they're level using a spirit level. The next stage is to fix this post to your old wooden post, and what I like to use is some M10 coach bolts, and I always use a normal washer and a square plate washer. The reason you do that is so that when you tighten it up, it forms a nice tight seal against the post itself, but it prevents any damage to the concrete. So what I like to do first is, these are really big and probably too big just to screw directly into the post because you risk splitting the wooden post behind. So what I like to do is put that through, and then you can tap that with a hammer, and then that will mark the post behind. Do that on all three, release the post, and then we can drill some pilot holes using a 6mm bit into the wooden post, and then we can tighten up these coach bolts. For ease, I like to use an impact driver. And then just to finish it off, I like to do that by hand, either with a ratchet or a normal spanner, and that allows you to feel when that's really tight with the post itself. Now, I also don't like these washers like this, so what I'm going to do is just release that off slightly, turn the washer, and then we'll repeat that on all of the fixings. So before you actually put the postcrete in, we just need to make sure the post is level front to back. And the reason for that is once this postcrete goes in, it sets really quickly. So there's a few ways you can do that. You can get some timber and you can put from the top of the post down, especially if it's a 6-foot post, and that way you can adjust that and make sure that's tight. The other thing that I've used in the past is ratchet straps. You can put that around the post, and the good thing with these is you can just very gently tighten them up, which allows you to move the post into position. However, if you've got a small post like this, what you can do is you can put your level on, and then you can get some oddments of the stuff you've broke out and jam it down the front of the post to hold that into position. Bear in mind this postcrete goes off within 5 to 10 minutes. You've not got long for it to set before you can move on to the next one. So, if you're one of the 65% of people watching this channel and you've not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Click down below, click subscribe, don't forget, hit the notification bell, and that way you won't miss out on any of my future videos. The next thing is to add some water to the hole. Now I normally fill it about 1/3 full, and then if you open your bag of postcrete and fill it until the water disappears, and then if you get something like a stick, or you can even use a trowel, just this hole's quite deep, so then if you just give that a mix around before you add any more. Now repeat this process until you get near to the top of the hole, leaving a small amount to put the soil back over the top. So leave that now for 10 minutes and hopefully that should be set when we come back. In the meantime, I'm going to have a cup of tea. So that's 10 minutes later. Let's see how strong the post is now. And as you can see, that is really strong. It's set really well. I've covered the ground back over. I've just got to let these branches go, cover that back over, and job done. The last thing you can do if you want to disguise the post is you can actually paint it with your fence paint so that it blends in a little bit better. So hope you like it, like my video, found it informative. Don't forget, click that subscribe button and I'll see you soon.